Hi, Eden here. I live in BC in Canada, and I have a Polaris Ranger Crew 1000 side by side, which is slightly bigger than your normal ATV or trail side by side, or your normal ATV that can ride on trail roads. But we do go through the forest service roads, and I often find that the side by side gets knocked by the branches of the trees and the shrubbery that's next to the road. So what I want to do today is I want to put some cables strung from the front of the bumper to the top of the frame of the side-by-side, and I'll show you just now what I mean. When I was in Africa, I had a Land Cruiser, and I did that with the vehicle itself, and I found that it stopped the windscreen from being scratched, and also it kept most of the branches off the front of the vehicle, especially when you go through quite dense forests or shrubbery or bush, etc. Let me show you what I mean. The Polaris Ranger Crew 1000 came with a premium package which included the bush bar or bumper in front here, and it has an extension that protrudes to here. Then I'm going to put an eyelet or an eye hook in here and then attach it to the mirror clamp that I put up here. So it's going to go in to this. I fixed this already. I'll show you just now how I did that. But this clamp is an aftermarket accessory, and I happen to find one of these bolts can come out quite easily. I've put Loctite on it, and so the idea is to attach the cable from there and then bring it down to the corner of the bumper here. What I have is I have some this looks like clothes wash cable, clothes wash line cable. It's like aircraft cable but with a plastic covering. I've got some eyelet hooks here. I've got a smaller one for the top. This was I think a 2-inch. It's the only stainless steel one I could find is a 2.5 or 2-inch eye hook. The brackets that I used at the top there is just a normal L bracket, and the L bracket I just cut it off, shaped it a bit, repainted it so it doesn't rust. I've got some turnbuckles, and then I went to buy some rope sleeves, and I also bought some rope clamps. I was going to use the rope clamps, but I decided to rather use the sleeves. The thing with the rope clamps is you can take the cable off again if you decide one day you don't want to have it. There they are. But the sleeves, once you've crimped them onto the cable, they're pretty much going to stay there unless you're going to cut it off. Then I've got a drill bit with a cable cutter, my trusty Leatherman. To start off with, this is the black bracket that I cut off from that L-shaped black bracket I showed you. Then what I did is I took this, it's all this is stainless steel. I cut it in half with a bolt cutter, and then I tied it. I put a lock nut at the back here with some washers. So this will be the top part of the cable, and I will do the other side similar to this one. The only problem I did here is I've got a stainless steel eye hook, I've got a stainless steel lock nut, but the washers are just zinc plated, and unfortunately that's not going to work, because if something's going to rust, the zinc plated washers will rust. So I will have to replace the zinc plated washers with stainless steel ones, otherwise it's just not going to work. Let me insert this one, because I've already got the bracket tied up here. There's the bracket, and I'm going to put the eye hook in there now. So that one's in nice and tight. Now what we got to do is measure the cable. Now there's two ways to do this. I can put these turnbuckles, I can put it at the top, hook it in here, and let the I can put the turnbuckle in here at the top and let the cable go downwards to the eye hook on the bumper, or I can put the turnbuckle at the bottom here and let the cable go upwards. I still haven't figured out which one's going to be better, so let's make the cable and see which one's going to work. In order to mark where I'm going to drill on the bumper here, I want to try and put the eye hook on the most outer edge that I can. So I've marked it there 1 inch inside that white spot there from the outside, and the eye hook will basically be here. So I want to make sure that the cable clears the vehicle, so I've attached just a line through the eye hook at the top, and your clearance that you can see is there. So if I put it in this spot, if I move it around, it seems that I still have the clearance to be able to get the cable to not touch the vehicle. So let me cut the cable to length before I drill. In order to mark the spot, I'm just gonna tap a hole there with a center punch. I'm going to start with a smaller screwdriver bit, drill bit. Ow. Look better if I have gloves on. To prevent the water from coming into these holes, they're going to come into the holes anyway, but to prevent it from rusting, I'm going to take a Q-tip and I'm just going to paint the inside of the hole with some primer rust inhibitor. And on the other side as well. Just to stop it from rusting one day. Right, so now is the time that I have to decide whether I'm going to put the turnbuckle at the top or put the turnbuckle at the bottom. And the reason for doing that is I have to wind the end of the cable either through this eye hook or through the top eye hook, because the turnbuckle has a hook only on one side. So I have to commit now to whether this hook goes to the bottom or to the top, and I think I'm going to make it at the top. And the reason for that is I want the branches to hit this eye hook first and have as little resistance or impedance, obstruction, whatever you want to call it. When it hits this eye hook, it must slide up, and then the top will hit the mirror turnbuckle combination, and by that time it'll go over the roof. So I think I'm going to do it this hooked into the top, which means I have to put the sleeves at the bottom through this eye hook over here, like such. I'm going to put 2 of them in just to make sure, because I'm going to put a bit of strain on it. So I've got to measure that it can take at least 2 of these. Yep. One can go there, and another one there. Okay, so I've calculated it to be 1175. I'm not a maths genius, but sure, didn't screw that up too much. These cable cutters are one-trick ponies, but I can tell you there's nothing that cuts like this one-trick pony. I don't use it for anything else, but when I need it for this job, it cuts a damn well fine cable. There's no fraying whatsoever. Stunning machine. Alright, so now what I got to do is I have to put this one through here, just narrow this thing down a bit. I'm assuming that the distance from the eyelet in front and the eyelet at the back, those distances are the same, because I cut the cables the same. I should have measured it, but I didn't. And you'll see from my other video where I fitted the half poly doors that the vehicle is actually slightly out of tolerance to one side from the other side, but I'm hoping that it's going to be okay for these purposes. It's not building a piano, so even if I'm out a little bit, it's fine. Now I don't have a real crimping tool. I have a PEX crimper with which I'm going to do this crimping now. So it's a bit of a different story. This is one of those instances where you do want to wear your gloves. So here's my PEX crimper. That's all I got. Show I wonder if 2 is too much, the overkill. I think so. I wonder if 1 will do. I think 1 will do. You have 1 shot at this. Let's have a look, see what it looks like. This is the bottom, it's in there. There's the 2 steel things. Goes all the way to the top. There's your turnbuckle hooked in nicely. Light on this. And all I do now is crimp this one and then tighten the turnbuckle, and you'll have the protection in place. Question that I asked myself is whether I need 2 of these up here or just 1, and I'm thinking for the top part I'm just going to put 1 in, see how that works. I've tightened the bolt at the bottom and made sure that this section of the cable is inward facing, so when the branch hits this it'll deflect off and go up. The same with this one, and then it'll deflect hopefully off the mirror here. I'll just tighten this once I've got everything on the other side as well, then only will I tighten these properly. Let's do the other side. Here's the other side. I've decided to attach only 1 of these sleeves on here. I've tightened the bolts in. I don't think there's going to be a problem. There's about just less than a foot travel here. I don't think the wheel will ever touch that, so I'm not too worried about that. If it becomes a problem, I'll just cut that off and take out this nut and just move the lock nut up closer, but for now it should be fine. It's not a trail ATV, it's just a side-by-side. Then at the top I've attached it here. I've turned the turnbuckle tight, and again it's pretty tight and neat. The other side I've taken in order to be not so OCD, as I am a bit, I took off the second one from here, snipped it off. I'd cut it off with a hacksaw actually, and I've tightened this one, and the finished product looks like this. There you go. And then from the side it looks something like that. And that is my branch deflector for my Ranger side by side. I hope you enjoyed it. Eden out.